had Yuh-Line on, and I liked her very much, and I'm very hoping that she is the person who walks away.
She's in striking distance. She can definitely pull this off, and I think, and I'm sure Bob, you have definitely had some effort along with a lot of other people that have exposed this. Blanking on is it Goldman? Is that who? Yeah, this guy is again another freaking
developer,
super
right?
developer, conservative who's dressing himself up as a Democrat, and of course all the Chamber of Commerce people and all that poured so much money into this race, and yet right now he's in first place with 22%, and Yuh-Line is in second place with 17%. A lot of that can change over the next 5 days. It would not shock me in the least if Yuh-Line does pull this off, because she definitely has the grassroots energy to do it. But man, it is tough to beat that the New York political machine. It's very
money in politics. It's a huge hurdle, and it's a huge corruptive influence.
But it's a very progressive district, and the shame of it is that there are a lot of progressive candidates who are splitting the vote there. So I am urging everybody, even if they love another candidate, to go and vote for Yuh-Line, because she is the progressive who has the best chance of winning. And if the progressives split this vote, CD10, an incredibly progressive district, is going to send this conservative Democrat, this corporate Democrat, to Congress. And that would be a shame.
Bob, what is the motivation behind somebody like Jessica Ramos endorsing Carolina Rivera? I see that, and I'm just thinking, you can't. Everyone has a right to run, but it's so painfully obvious that Yuh-Line is the one person who has a shot to pull this off. And to me, it looked like this happened today. This looks like really, really bad political calculation on her part.
Honestly, I don't know the motivation behind any of that. I do agree with Catherine saying that people are attacking one another within progressive circles.
Yeah.
You can really talk about who, but there is another candidate there who has been elected, who is
and has no damn business being in that race. But if he had a spine, he'd be the one running against Maloney. But instead, you now may put Melanie in Congress because Alessandra Baeghi decided, no, I'm going to take on the real challenge and go after the guy who was hurting New York. Everyone makes these ridiculous political calculations, and very often, I don't think they're making them on their own. I think a lot of people get really bad advice in politics. Would you say that's fair?
That sounds about right.
Yeah, because consultant class people want to in and be able to profit off of their campaigns, like a bunch of white collar carnies that just travel from town to town exploiting candidates.
And then you do have what Joe was saying, money being thrown into these races. We have all these people. There's a group right now that calls themselves New York Progressives.
Yeah.
We are New York Progressives. Okay? Which there might be a lawsuit against this group, but it's basically real estate money.
We're on the executive committee of the New York Progressive Action Network, and it looks like this conservative group is trying to make them look like they're us.
Yeah.
And they're attacking Yuh-Line. It's really despicable.
They did things like that here in Florida where...
Well, Debbie claimed to be a progressive on her literature. She said she was the progressive running in our race.
Well, Bob, I don't know if you know this or not, but in I think it was probably like 2 months prior to the election, Debbie sent out a mailer that was in purple and orange, and it's like,
oh yeah,
talk about
she copied our colors and said she's the progressive.
Her colors are white, red, and black, and it's like, oh, you send out a purple mail, and I wonder why you would do such a thing. It's so, again, to me, if you don't have any merit to stand on, then you resort to attacks. We saw that today with. You have Maxwell Frost, who's running in Congressional District 10 here in Florida. And there was
a situation.
Big situation.
We're having a situation.
Whether it was Alan Grayson or Senator Randolph Bracey that sent this out, because it was clearly one of those two candidates.
It's like, I'm telling you, it has Alan Grayson written all over it.
Basically implying that Maxwell sexually harasses his staffers. And this is like...
He spent time with his staffers.
Again, when you do stuff like that, it just goes to show that you don't have a leg to stand on. It's one of those things where you don't deserve to be an elected representative, because if the whole concept is to just say, well, this person really sucks, I'm not that good, but you really don't want that.
You realize we have a White House that's that.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Come on, man.
Well, we're seeing that up here in Long Island, the Senate District 7. Jeremy Joseph's running there against Anna Kaplan, and her campaign doesn't have anything on him, so they're just spreading rumors and, basically being very ignorant about something, or they're lying about him.
What?
And,
okay, what on? What district?
It's disgusting. And you're right. If they don't have anything, what do? They start throwing around mud and attacks that just have no standing. And unfortunately, there's going to be some people who are going to be like, "Oh, well, I trust that source," and they're gonna believe it, And so, fighting against it is just, again, going back to the doors, proving them wrong, getting the message out there, and then you really have to ask yourself: this person who's an elected official is willing to put that forward. If they're an incumbent, then what else are they lying about? What else have they said to their constituents that's not true? And and that's what we have to deal with. And Jeremy's running against a Democrat. And by the way, who is being supported by James Dolan? So if you don't know who James Dolan is,
I know who Mr.
You know
Dolan
who everyone is. Most people don't.
Very well. Yeah, that son of a bitch has been cheating taxes for 30 years.
Who is that?
He is the
developer?
He is the nepotistic beneficiary, billionaire owner of Madison Square Garden. So he had daddy's money.
Don't they not have to pay taxes for that?
No. There's a certain little clause that
I think it's going to run out, though, right? Like, there's something about that.
They'll figure out a way around it, but it's hundreds of millions of dollars in taxes that Jim Dolan has avoided. And he's a terrible musician, as I might like to point out. I know he's going to keep playing until he thinks he catches somebody's attention. When some people just don't have anything better to do with their time? They just have so much money and resources. Like, I'm going to form a band.
So I've heard.
Well, he's got a PAC called the Coalition to Restore New York. And it's an ultra-conservative PAC. And what he's doing right now is he's spending money on Democrats to support them who have progressive challengers. He's doing it in the Assembly and the Senate. I don't know if he's done anything congressionally. And, it just shows you if they're willing, if conservatives, someone like James Dolan is willing to spend that type of money, and we're not talking about $20,000. I'm talking about over $200,000 in mailers and digital ads.
This is your state house race, by the way.
Yeah. Well, people don't realize that the state house is really important. Those races, local races and state races usually define what's going on around you, where the money's going, how the money's going to get used, and who's going to get that money. Kathy Hochul gives close to $1 billion to a billionaire for the Buffalo Stadium. The people in Buffalo are starving. They live in food deserts. That's not helping them. So when you have someone like James Dolan going and spending money on Democrats, that you really have to ask, well, are they Democrats? What is it that he likes about them? Right?
Because unfortunately, the Democratic Party is not much different than the Republican Party.
Right.
We do not have a
Labor Party.
We do not have a Labor Party in the United States. What we do have are some really good grassroots groups. And listen, I am not a fan of the overall Working Families Party, but I am a big fan of the Working Families Party of New York. I think you guys got that thing down pretty damn solid, and you back the right candidates, amazing grassroots efforts.
Okay, you guys right here represent 3 progressive organizations that are on Long Island alone. We don't have 3 progressive organizations in our state.
Yeah, probably not.
Okay, we're in a bad way.
Well, Florida.
But we're up against very, very big money, and really everybody needs to talk more honestly as we go forward about the money. It's less a question of who's a Democrat, who's a conservative Democrat, who's a Republican. It's the moneyed interests who want to make sure that progressives who threaten them don't get elected. And they want to make sure that there isn't another AOC or another Jamal Bowman or another Cori Bush. And they are throwing everything they possibly can at progressives. And I think that as progressives, we need to think about this and think about having a better solidarity among candidates, really having an agreement among candidates that if somebody is leading in a place like CD10, the other people drop out at a certain point. And we're going to have to bring a better game to these campaigns. I mean, I've been thinking about it a lot. There is just seemingly limitless money that is pouring into these campaigns to defeat progressives. And everybody is going to have the kind of amazing ground game that Yuh-Line does, that Melanie does, because we can't win in any other way.
Right. Well, where we win is on the ground, because like you were saying, like those campaigns, they have money to pay people to go do lit drops, and they have money to do all of that mailing and all of those commercials, but they do not have people that are really out there speaking for them to regular people, because it really requires someone to believe in what you're doing to be a really good surrogate. You can't, you can pay canvassers. They're never going to be as good as volunteers that are in it because they care about the candidate, ever. And they're never going to represent that way. And one contact with a volunteer who really supports is way more meaningful than 10 mailers in your mailbox. Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.